Everybody, welcome back to the Black Book Podcast. I'm sitting here with a good guy named Josh, man, and Josh is a guy, who I learned about, who is doing really good work in Shenzhen. He's pretty different from most of my guests before, who, at the time when they came to China, they had a teaching job and then they moved out of somewhere else. But this guy, as long as he has been in China, has not been teaching. So we're gonna learn about what he has been doing so far. So really quickly, Josh, can you just tell us who you are, where you're from?
Sure. So what's up, y'all? My name is Josh. I come from the South Side of Chicago. I'm currently a project manager in Shenzhen at a consumer electronic product design firm. I studied mechanical engineering at MIT with a Chinese minor. Then I got a policy degree from Tsinghua. I'm 24 years old and I'm lost in the world. Having fun though. Having fun. I decided I wanted to go to MIT when I was 12 because you know where we're from. And
right.
Once I heard that was like the pie in the sky, like the one ridiculous thing to reach for, and even if you don't get it, you'll be somewhere okay. It just became the goal. So right. I did that. I went to Whitney Young, and at Whitney Young, we had all the languages. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, I can learn French, Spanish, Japanese, or Chinese. The only one I see that's useful is Chinese. Okay. You know? Yeah. So at age 14, I'm like, China is 1/5 of the world population, explosive economic growth. I probably need to be moving in that direction. You know what I mean? So I think it's always been in the back of my mind. I had to kind of start my Chinese from scratch in university because I was trash in high school. But it's always been in the plan. I think for me, combining Chinese with mechanical engineering, I was thinking about doing some manager type stuff at Apple. But I'm pretty happy where I am now, using Mandarin as the working language and executing projects.
So you mentioned you were pretty young making these decisions. What drove you that young to make these life decisions like that?
Man, I have some good parents, bro. Okay. It'd be that simple. My mom's a little black, well, actually a very large woman, a very large tiger mom. And my parents, they used to be partiers, and I think I inherited that gene. But when I was born, they changed their life to make sure that I made it. So at age 2 to 3, they're buying me computers, letting me play on computers. And what the heck does a 3-year-old know about a computer? Age 5 or 6, they're taking me to basketball camp, soccer camp, trying to let me explore my interests. I didn't like basketball because I don't like sweaty dudes on me, bro. So that didn't work for me. But kind of let me explore. Age 9 or 10, I was trying out game design in Northwestern University, just taking classes, for children. We're doing robotics, Lego robotics. So they gave me a breadth of exposure that I wish our communities had more, which is to say, if our public schools enforced STEM education and enforced this type of exposure, I think we'd see very different outcomes. It's all about the early childhood education. So it was that simple, man. Once I got the exposure, I could feel out what I thought I wanted to do and then move in that direction. So they didn't push me to do any of this. It was just I saw the breadth of opportunities before me, which I wish more of us could see. I saw the breadth and I made a decision. Particularly, it was 7th grade, and I had a really smart English teacher. She gave us the assignment to create a pamphlet for a college you want to go to. And the heck does a 12-year-old know about college? Nothing. But for me, I'm just I like engineering. I know that. So what's the best engineering school. Just Google. And then
Right.
MIT popped up #1. And I'm just like, okay, like, let's try, that
Right.
type of thing.
Okay.
That was it. That was it. And then from there, it was like the flame started, and like just started trying to crush it in high school, grade school, and hustling, working
Right.
towards
Right.
the
Right.
dream.
Okay.
Yeah.
So somebody basically just put these things in front of you, and you were able just to feel them out.
Yeah,
For
for
saying,
sure.
okay, yeah. So man, you mentioned in your job that the working language is Chinese. So basically, that's like probably little no English, and you already told me that you're cozy with your Chinese, so that's not a problem for you. Has it always been cozy, or did you that's just something you had to like
Oh no,
work on?
man. So 3 years of language training at MIT was very, very useful. But my first year in Beijing, honestly, my first 6 months in Shenzhen were kind of a struggle. At Tsinghua, the teaching language was English, so I wasn't being challenged like that to learn, even
Mm,
though we took Chinese classes. But I think the thing about a language is you need the immersion. Like once you have the fundamentals, you need to be in a place where things can click and come together. So, I mean, my first year, my first 6 months in Beijing, like I don't want to answer calls because I'm like, I don't want to talk in Chinese. I'm like, this guy's gonna be saying something to me in some Dongbei accent, and I'm just not gonna get it. I'm just gonna be upset. Like I don't want to talk. Don't call me, bro. Just deliver the food where I asked you to deliver it. Just come to the point where I drop the pin, okay? Like,
yeah.
so, and the taxi drivers, yeah, I wasn't comfortable at all. I was not cozy, man. The coziness came from having to use the language in a working capacity for sure.
Okay.
Just being able to put together your ideas quickly, being able to understand different accents on Mandarin, um, and just being more comfortable with kind of expressing yourself. I think that only comes from a lot of practice. University couldn't do that for me. I had to be here to do that. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, all right. So let's talk about your job. So you mentioned it before, but let's go over it again. So, what exactly are you doing again?
sure. So I'm a project manager at a consumer electronics product design firm. So basically, in product design, you have several phases. So you have kind of the ideation phase, like I want to make some headphones. We have the industrial design phase. Okay, now let's create the shape and the aesthetic of the headphones and roughly plan out how the electronics work. Then you have the product development phase, which is the longest phase. Um, the early phases typically take 2 to 3 months. The product development phase can take 6 months to a year. So
Okay.
this is actual engineering working towards like a functional prototype. So your mechanical engineering would be designing the enclosure, designing the aesthetic. Electronics engineering is designing the audio drivers, designing the PCBs that sit inside your headphone, designing the power routing, and then collaborating with the mechanical engineer to make sure that like these things can all fit and it's all reusable. Then you have your firmware engineering, which is they create. There's no Windows OS on a headphone, right? The firmware
Right.
engineers create the logic that drives the headphone. Um, then you package these things all together and you get your first working prototype. And after that, now what? We're 14 months into the process. Um, After that, you have what you call your new product introduction phase, which is also another 5 to 6 months, where basically now you're doing product verification, product tests,
Okay.
engineering tests. Like if your headphones electrocute somebody, you made a bad product, like so you have to work these things out. Those things take
Okay.
time. And then you get to the mass production phase, and that's what everybody wants to get to. That's the golden thing. So every product you see in the world has gone through a similar process.
Yeah.
It's a long road, and a lot of products do not make it.
Right.
So
So once
that's
you get
what I
once you get to the mass production part, basically
yeah
your product has made it, right? Unless
yeah
the
your product
consumer doesn't like it.
exactly. Not so their product is this. It's on you to sell it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
that's what my company does. So at any point in what I just described to you, we will work with foreign entities and execute
Okay.
their products in China. Right.
Okay. So is the company you work for? You don't have to say the name. Are they a Chinese company or are they a foreign company?
It's a little weird. The CEO is German, but the company is
Okay.
90% Chinese. Uh, it's just sometimes it feels like a Chinese company, but we got 40-hour work weeks, so I don't complain.
So is it
You know,
is it owned by a Chinese person? Because
it's
that's a
owned
lot of
by
companies like that in China.
this German dude and perhaps his wife. I really don't
Okay,
know.
so it's a foreign company because I used to work for a foreign company, and then
Yeah,
it, like you said, like 90% of the workforce in the company will be Chinese, and it will be ran
yeah,
mostly like a Chinese company. But like at the end
yeah,
of the
yeah.
day, when the checks are clearing, it will be like foreign money and stuff like that. Stuff like So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so that's pretty cool. So like you get to oversee like these projects as they basically go through the process of of getting created, testing, maybe get sent to
Yeah,
shipping. Okay, okay. Like
yeah.
and like how did you? So I know um so you went to MIT, all the stuff like this. Tsinghua, graduated, studied Chinese, but how did you get this job exactly?
The network, bro. The network.
Hmm.
I was uh I was in a lunch hall at Tsinghua complaining about how I couldn't find a job. And one of my classmates, she happened to know another engineer who was down in Shenzhen, who was working at this product design firm. And she's like, Josh, maybe you should just reach out to this dude. I know you want to be in Shenzhen. He's in Shenzhen. So he could at least point you in the right direction and help you make contacts. So at this point, like, Shenzhen is, I think, one of the cities that have the most potential for development in the world with regards to the government's policies towards foreigners, with regards to its history of manufacturing and high technology, with regards to the plans for creating the competitor to Silicon Valley in the south of China. I think the city
Right.
has a lot of potential. So for me as an engineer, I gotta be here. This has to be. I have to have work experience working here, living here. So yeah, so my friend put me in touch with this dude, and he's a fun dude. He organizes a lot of parties in the city now. He's cool. But put me in touch with this dude, and we basically talked, and we were like, he's like, I'm a mechanical engineer, and I'm like, I'm a mechanical engineer. He's like, well, I was a photographer in college, and I'm like, I was a photographer in college, and like we matched on everything, So we were
Okay.
vibing, and he's like, it's like, okay, I hear what you're saying, Josh. Well, I'll tell you this. Maybe you can just come to work to my company. I think I may or may not be making a move soon, so they may or may not need need a replacement.
Okay.
So that was it. He really helped slide me in. So we organized some calls to the CEO and like some managers, and things were things were solid. People gave me a lot of trust. And, like I'm 24 years old, dude. Like, and I've been managing like $350,000 worth in like projects, just money coming through the door from manufacturing and design, and like who in their right mind trusts the 24 to do this, Like it's been a hell of an opportunity.
Yeah.
But just the network, dude. It was just the network. And I think that's something I've learned out here is that like life is PR and who you know. Like if
Absolutely.
you pull these things
Absolutely.
off, you can be president.
I guess you may or may not be right. But look, so moving away from the job, man, like, so you've been in China a couple years. Like, besides working, like, what else have you gotten into since being here?
um, yeah, fair question. The summer's been rough. Uh, I just got out of a serious relationship. Uh, kind of had to kick the girl out of my apartment.
Uh-oh.
That's a long story. But uh, I'll say I kind of had to find my grounding again this summer. So this summer especially has been a lot of clubbing, a lot of parties, a lot of going out, a lot of meeting new people. But
Right.
at this point, for me, Shenzhen is a cultural desert. Okay, like they don't have the art scene or the nightlife scene of Beijing and Shanghai. So I think that really bothered me my first few months here. But now I started to see it as an opportunity. You know, like if they don't have the experiences I want here,
You just
I
create
can just
them.
I can do it myself. So
Okay.
I've actually started getting into event organization. My first event was a hip hop live show. Basically, I had some DJ friends, some rapper friends from England and America come out, give some performances, give a little rap battle, but just try to. The goal was to share hip hop culture in a more authentic way than I see it being shown in Chinese clubs. Um, and it was a decent first event. Things went wrong. I'm not entirely happy about it, but it was a start. Then after that, I partnered with a local DJ out here who's from Ghana, and we did an Afro vibes event. So all Pan African music, all Caribbean music all night. We had about 140, 100 people come through, and now it's like okay, like this is getting some momentum. We can really do something in this city.
Okay.
Um, so now the next one is on November 28th, which is also my birthday. But basically, uh, because I speak Chinese, navigating the nightlife scene here is a little different, like talking to
Mm.
the bosses of these clubs, proposing ideas, uh, trying to see like where our mutual interests are. The language helps, the language
Right.
helps a lot. So now,
Definitely.
um, me and this bro, we're about to take over a properly Chinese nightclub. They only do like house and trance music. We're gonna take that over. We're gonna make it hip hop. We're gonna try to have 200, 250 people come through, and it's gonna be all white. So you got to show up in white clothes, white shoes, white sandals, white pants, white blazer, like bougie. Like
Like
going
like
full
leg-
bougie.
like legit all white. Like what if I got a white t-shirt on but it got black or some red mixed into it?
Oh, all white. No, this sound weird. No colors allowed. This sound weird.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
All right. Okay.
Um,
Cool. I could dig that. I could dig that.
yeah.
So all right. So you right. So I can't just let you mosey over what you said at first, which was you just got out of a relationship. So I want to ask you, like,
All right.
how I don't want to ask you about your specific relationship, but how is like just dating and relationships in China for you?
Um, the language helps. uh, but there's definitely cultural tensions that have to be bridged. But I go back and forth on this point. I think a big point of contention in my previous relationship was a result of me being black. Um, and this girl had met my parents. She had come out to Chicago, and I hadn't met hers, even though I've been living in the same city as them for 6 months. Right? And like I understand, like in Chinese culture, like you don't meet parents until you're about to get married, or at least 2 to 3 years into the relationship. Um, so I get those differences, but still, I think it bothered me. I think it bothered me a lot, and for better, for worse, I think that that had an impact on the relationship, whether it came from my side or hers. I think it did. Uh, but I also don't want to sit here and say like, I think you can have cultural differences, cultural misunderstandings in any relationship. I think a poor ass black dude dating somebody who comes from Obama's family will have a cultural misunderstanding. Like
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think I think so. That being said, she was a Chinese girl, but I like to think that these misunderstandings can be had between humans of any color or class. You know, maybe it's a little more extreme because we come from opposite ends of the earth, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
So you guys have just like had like some raw cultural like differences, or like something like specific happened that turned both of you guys off?
uh, I mean, we had a lot of compatibility. You know, we were both like nightclub rats. We both liked to drink and party. She liked hip hop. I listened to Chinese music. Like, she was very ambitious. I'm pretty ambitious. Like, there's a lot of positive overlap. But I think, yeah, uh, a big kind of argument happened at the end of it, and I think that argument was based on this accumulating cultural tension behind both of us, and like this was um this was like June of 2020, so like peak American racial tension, right? And I'm over here in China trying to process all of it, like in a place where like you walk down the street and people are beaming at you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was in my head. I was feeling some type of way. Um, so yeah, it kind of hit a bad place. It's a very bad argument at 4 a.m. Well, actually,
I've
it's
been there. I've been there. My girl is also Chinese, so
yeah,
I've been there. But all
yeah.
right, so enough of that, man. So I want to know more about this club that you're taking over. So are you like taking it over permanently, or just like a night? You taking over one
A
night?
night, a night, a night,
Okay,
a
all right,
night.
all right,
Yeah. So
okay,
worked out the deal with the club, and basically for these events we've been trying to do, um as organizers, our revenue is all from ticket sales. So we take a percentage of the ticket sales, and then we try to let the bar get their alcohol money, let them get the table selling money. um but yeah, they're going to give us a space. We're going to organize the photography, videography, the DJs, the people, do the WeChat promotions, do the marketing, and try to make it something special, you know.
okay, okay. Um, yeah, dude. So
Yeah.
that's all. Like, man, that sounds really dope. If I was in Shenzhen, I would definitely come out and check it out.
Yeah,
But
man, you're welcome.
I haven't been to a club in a long time. But
Where are you right now?
Chengdu, so it's like
Oh, y'all are
southwest China.
lit, dude. Why are you not partying?
Why am I not partying? I think I had enough of that shit, dude. I mean, like, so you're in your second
Okay.
year, bro. Like, you're in your second year, and you know you still got that bug. Because when I was in my first year, my second year, that's all I was doing. Like, I was in
Yeah.
Beijing partying my ass off at
Yeah.
fucking at what's it at Mix on fucking Friday,
Yeah.
Saturday, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, and then fuck around on Mondays, go to Modernista, then fuck around on go to fucking Latin night on Tuesdays, and then on Wednesdays, like it's like ladies night at Mix again, so you back there. Then on Thursdays
Oh
you in
yeah.
Wadalco, you know what I'm saying? Because they
The
got
run.
fucking yeah.
The run.
Yeah, dude. So yeah, so I did that shit for like 2 years, man. So like I'm like good now. You know, I mean, like I know where all the spots. I know where all the spots at and shit in Chengdu, but I just kind of like, you know. And then another
Yeah.
thing is that like my girl, she's not like she's not a club goer at all. You know what I'm saying? So you know,
I see.
I respect that. And then you know, we do go out, we go to bars and shit like that, but we don't go to no clubs because
Yeah. Yeah.
you know she doesn't fuck with the environment. You know, I would go.
Yeah.
If she wanted to go, if my girl wanted to go, I would go. I would go with my girl. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of guys be like, "Why you go to the club with your girl?" Motherfucker, because I got a girl and I still want to go to the club. Like, what the fuck wrong with you? Like,
Yeah.
no, dude, man, this shit is crazy. But uh, man, so I was gonna ask you some other questions, but like I'm not gonna ask those anything. I'm not gonna ask those, but I will ask you this: what's your most, if you have one, like the since you've been in China, your most memorable thing so far?
Most memorable thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
or what do you love about being here? I'll say that.
what do I love about being here?
Yeah,
Um, number one, there are no guns.
Yeah.
Like, I can't stress that enough to my friends home. Like, you guys worried about these cops. You guys worried about your neighbors. I don't worry about shit here. I stay out till 5, 6 in the morning. I'm chilling. I'll be stumbling home. Nobody's touching me. Like, nobody's
Yeah.
trying to take my chain. Like, no, there's none of this. None of this happening in China, at least to the expat community. So that's always my baseline. Is like, I have a sense of safety that I don't even have in my own home country.
Yeah.
Um,
I've
Regardless of the
told.
politics, like, I I do what I want here, bro. Like, as long as you're not out here smoking weed and like doing dumb shit that you know is illegal, you can live a decent life, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've told so many people the same exact shit you just said. Like, bro, like I ain't waking up every day thinking that if I encounter the fucking police, what the fuck is gonna happen to my life? None of this other bullshit, dude. Like exactly what you said. You can be drunk, walking down the street. No one, like literally, no one's going to fuck with you. They might stare at you, but no one's going to touch you. Just because like the that's just culturally Chinese people are just fucking they're shy anyway, and they don't and I like to stick to their own shit. They might look at you and stare, but like as a whole, it's totally different type of culture. Now I don't want to be clear and say that like like crime and fucking shit like that don't happen and racism doesn't happen in China, but like on
No,
average,
for sure.
the average person does not go through this shit. Go through the things that we would go through in America if we wanted to have this type of
Yeah.
lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're absolutely
for
right.
sure.
Anything else, bro?
Um, it's my politics are a little messy right now. It's a you realize you realize how much propaganda you've been fed as an American, how indoctrinated you've been when you leave the country. You know,
Mm,
for me, like reading the New York Times, I'm just alarmed because their coverage of China looks like we're still in the Cold War and China is the next USSR. These allegations of this this rising surveillance state and uh, minority suppression. Like, yes, there's truth to all of that, but let's also look at what we in America do to our own people. Let's look
right,
at the lost children along the Mexican border. Let's look at the Patriot Act. This the government's ability to look at your Google search damn near at any time they want, right? And I don't know if that's still the case. That was my impression as a child, but regardless of that, Facebook is literally listening right now. And if I say I want to go to Japan, they're gonna give me ad recommendation to go to Japan tomorrow, right? Like, so you telling me that this is different than excessive government monitoring? I don't know. That's a question for people to decide. I don't think it's different. There are more cameras in DC per person than in Beijing, which is really saying something because Beijing is what 20 million people and DC. Like there,
right,
there are these things, there are these details that if you don't pay enough attention, you'll really sit there and think like, oh, China is that boogeyman. China is that threat. But
right.
I always encourage people to get non-American news sources to just try to branch out and or leave, just leave and like see the country the way the rest of the world sees it. I think it's so important. It's so
Hmm.
important.
Absolutely.
You know.
And is this your first time? Like, is China the first country you ever lived in outside of America?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, is this your first time going abroad completely, or have you ever traveled anywhere else?
Um, I've done a lot of traveling. I've kind of the privilege of going to a good high school and then going to Tsinghua. So I've been to in high school. I went to France and Spain,
Okay.
and France. That was really eye opening because like I was in like a little just in a little store, dude. I'm 16 years old. I'm just trying to buy some French bread. I'm chilling, right? I'm like, I don't speak your language. I'm just trying to take care of me. I want some bread, okay?
Mhm.
Um, so I go up to this cashier. I'm like trying to buy the bread. He says something to me in French, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what? He like laughs, like, and then like he like goes and says something in French to his partner. And he's like, whatever. I don't speak French. And he turns back to me and he's like, why do you Americans come to our country and you don't even speak our language? And even then, why do you call yourselves Americans? Because America is bigger than you. You are just United States. America has Canada. He just went off on me. And I'm just like, I just came for some bread, bro. Like you, it was a lot, but that was also the real first wake up call that like maybe he's got a point to this, like how how arrogant is it to move about the world expecting people to speak your language, you know, like to how arrogant is it that we call ourselves America, knowing that there's so many other countries in America? Um, it yeah, that really got to me. Like the dude's a dick, but like I've never let that moment go because it was kind of like we do have a level of privilege, and the kind of force that we impose upon other countries, and they feel it and they don't like it either.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay. um, so I know I mentioned earlier. You mentioned that you learned. I forget you said you learned something about yourself. So, but this is my next question. So since and we're gonna end soon. So since
Cool.
you've been here, like what have you learned about yourself?
Um, since I've been here,
Yeah.
what have I learned about myself since I've been here? Here's one thing, maybe. Um, you know what stoicism is?
Yeah. So okay.
I my friends will laugh at me. I think I realized that I think minorities in America, blacks in America, are like natural stoicists, which is to say, I mean, just to define it for anyone listening, I suppose. Stoicism is the philosophy that um, you allow yourself to feel emotion, but you don't allow emotions to control you. Which is to say, you're in a negative interaction with people, you run into a bad situation, you experience discrimination or racism or some type of prejudice. Um, you feel emotion, but you keep control, right? Keeping control is the bottom line, because in America, when you lose control, you might die, you know, um, in those types of interactions. So I that's something that kind of has stuck with me is like reading more into stoicism because I feel like we naturally practice it. We naturally breathe a little lighter around cops. We like I think for a lot of us, we try to always maintain that composure because we know how badly things can go quickly. So that's
Uh,
something I think that's on my mind a lot in China. So even when like it has not been easy, man, and sometimes you'll be trying to go to a club and they just don't want to let you in. Like that's happened in Beijing and Shenzhen and happened in Guilin, because you're the foreigner or because they don't want to give you a reason, And like for me, I'll just be there like arguing in Chinese sometimes. Sometimes I get mad as hell and like I'm like, this is gonna go bad. I gotta walk, you gotta take a walk.
uh,
Um
I've been in a situation they won't let me on, like not even the fucking club, right? They won't let me on the train or like the Jeep, like the Gautier. They won't let me on there
yeah,
because they think my passport's fake, because I'm black. And like, no way you're black and from America. Okay, motherfucker, all right. Clearly, you've never been outside of the small area where you're
yeah.
from. you know. But that's
There's a lot of ignorance here, but I also would say like it's a young country, right? I have extremely high expectations of foreigners that I meet because you come from the West largely, so you should understand the rules of engagement. You should know you're not supposed to be saying the N word when you're singing a hip hop song. You should know these rules. I don't have the same expectation for China. I mean, open door and reform, Deng Xiaoping. 1978 was when this country really became China, right? So call that what, 42 years. Um, I guess yeah. Or that's is that bad math? I can't do math right now. It's fine. Um, I don't. The people don't have the same level of cultural exposure as the West. So it's for me like the little things like your coworker being like, "Oh, Africans are all lazy," and like I'm accidentally overhearing him and being like, "What did you say?" Like say that again, and
Man,
now I
I
have to
had to. I
explain.
almost slapped the shit out of a coworker the other day for saying some shit like I forgot how we got on this topic, man. But I think we were talking about traveling and shit like this, and she was like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, I've been to France and I've been to Germany and things like this." Oh no, we were talking about parents. 'Cause, like I'm a teacher, but we send students abroad and stuff like this. So like um
yeah,
and so, like, we're talking about this one student, like, she's one of the best students we have, but her parents are like scared to send her abroad. It's everywhere, and if it's not in China, it's not safe, basically. And we know what they're thinking. They're thinking like, oh, like America isn't safe. But we're kind of like, well, she doesn't have to go to America. She can go to Japan. She can go to Russia. She can go to Thailand. She can go to Singapore. Like all of these places, one will have English programs, and two are really close to China or then they're border China. So like if anything happens, you guys can go over there, or you guys can just quickly give her a fucking buy a flight ticket back home. Whether then she has to spend 15 hours trying to get back home if she goes to America. But we were talking about this, right? And then and then I started mentioning like, oh, there were other schools. There are other places you can go. Like Zimbabwe has like good programs. Like Nigeria has good things, and of course, South Africa. And my colleague was like, but South Africa has this problem. I was like, what problem are you talking about? She was like, they have a hygiene problem. I was like, the fuck you mean they got a hygiene problem? I was like, dude, first off, don't ever say no shit like that, because like the average place I go in China, they be having fucking hygiene problems. Like like if it's not like fucking in the cities, if it's not like in the city center, dude, that shit might be fucked up. Like, come on, and the crazy thing is, like, it could be like next to like some really good shit, like a Subway or a really nice mall, and the next door would be like this restaurant that they're using old fucking oil from the ground and shit like that. It's like, dude, that's a hygiene problem, and it's like China doesn't have hygiene problems; they have a misconception of hygiene. But like, that's just like my fucking soapbox rant, speech. I don't know. But like I tried to tell, like, dude, people will say the same shit about China, and you'll get mad as fuck about it, because Chinese people are very nationalist. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying there's anything
right,
wrong with that, but they feel for their country, and I'm not
right,
saying, and they should, but they have to. They don't
right,
understand that like when they say shit about other places, that people can say the same shit about China, and then they'll get mad about it.
right, right.
Yeah,
No, I
yeah.
totally agree. Yeah, man,
But
I'll tell you my strangest interaction. I was in a Huawei store just buying a 5G phone because 5G is like a really big deal in Shenzhen right now. So I wanted to try it out, and I'm talking to like the manager of the store. He's like, "Oh my god, it's a foreigner!" He's so excited. He's taking videos of stuff of me in his store, and he says this to me. He's like, "Man, like, do you have a Chinese girlfriend?" And I'm like, no. And he's like, man, we need you. We need you to have a Chinese girlfriend and then like make babies with her. And then those babies will win the Olympics for China. And I'm like,
shit.
I, that was the wildest one for me. Like usually is I expect the opposite. I expect like stay away from Chinese girls. Like, I expect some type of xenophobia, but that shit was weird for me. Like, like, and that's the other thing, I guess. Like, without getting too much to this race thing, um, I think we really need to deconstruct this idea of race, right? The fact that this Chinese dude thinks that like my genes for sports are inherently better than his, that's a lot. Like, like if we look at America, like why is it that most NBA, NFL players are black? Well, basketball is cheap, football is cheap. You just need a ball in a hoop or a ball in the field, right? We used to dominate. We used to dominate baseball. Then what happened? They pushed us out of middle class communities, so we don't have baseballs in our communities anymore, right? So now we have an over concentration of blacks aiming for the NBA, aiming for these sports, and that's what creates what we see today. It's not. I don't believe in like inherent physical superiority, because then that implies that there can be other inherent differences, like inherent intellectual differences, right? So that brings that justification along as well.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like, I'm always like, you need to chill with that shit. Like, I don't want to play basketball. You're probably better than me. Like, it's fine, dude. You know, I just try to push back. But yeah, I'm ranting again.
Yeah.
China's a good time. Largely.
No, I had a guy tell me that I should help him out with his restaurant, you know, because I had the talent. He was like, you know, you're a Black American, you have the talent. I was like, motherfucker, the talent for what? Like, you know, but I don't know what the fuck he was talking about. Like, dude, you know, like, I've actually never ran a business in my life before, but okay, you know.
Yeah, so what are you talking about?
Man, all right, dude, man. So before we end, man, so like, I just want to ask you. So you know, obviously, you have no. I won't say obviously. I assume that you have no plans on like leaving China soon. So like, you know, are you gonna keep doing the job you're doing? You're gonna keep trying to do this club promoting thing? What's next for you?
Um, so I'm trying to give China 5 to 6 years. For me, I I'll probably stay at this company maybe 2 to 3 more years and hop to a larger multinational corporation like a Apple or something. Um, but for me, the goal is to build enough manufacturing experience and connections in China to be able to start my own business, or I act as an engineering consultant. So
Right,
in essence, I'd be doing what I'm doing now, but kind of in a more middleman capacity and with a wider reach. So kind of like connecting the rest of the world who wants to do manufacturing in China to China, connecting the West who wants to do stuff in China to China. Um, and in doing so, I'm hoping that becomes my financial security. That becomes my first source of generational wealth. Um, the club thing, like, I'm gonna keep that going. It's fun. I like the party, so I might as well throw, right? And that can turn into something too. I've seen that happen as well. So I'm gonna keep that around. But for me, the goal is generational wealth, because that is I think the biggest thing that leads to the differences we see in our communities. So once I establish that, I'll be trying to go back to. I'll have to go back to Chicago. I have to go back, and I'll try to do education policy. But I'm not going to be in politics until I have my own money. Like, I will not be bought. I will not have my opinion censored. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
I need a base. So
right.
that's what we're doing right now. It's building a base.
I feel you on that.
Yeah.
And tradition on my show is that before we end, I always give my guests the last word, so you can have the last word. You can literally say whatever you want to say, and then we'll end.
I just thought of some wild shit, but like, there's no reason to
Just
say it. It would just be ridiculous.
just say it. Just say it. It doesn't matter, man. Just say what you gotta say. Say what's on your mind, man. Like,
What's
doesn't
on my
matter.
mind?
Yeah, this is an explicit
Uh,
show.
Anywhere we go in the world is going to be hard for us.
Okay.
There's a long history, actually, of Black Americans in China.
Yeah.
Okay, so my grandfather was in the Korean War. Um, so the Korean War basically was like America coming in, pushing North Korea up to the Chinese border, then Chinese coming back in and then pushing us down to the current dividing line between North and South Korea. So that was my grandfather. He got shot in the leg, likely by a Chinese dude. So he grew up with a lot of prejudice, right? So it was trippy because when I graduated Tsinghua, I had him on the Great Wall of China with me, and he's like 89 years old. So for him just in the span of like 70 years. Like the way the world has changed is insane. Like he could never have imagined he'd be up there, right? But I mean, there are a lot of Black Korean war veterans who literally just stayed, who were like captured by the Chinese and then stayed here and built a new life. Before Nixon, before Nixon came to China and opened the door in
Right.
1970, no, well, 1972, 1973. Before he did that, Black Panthers had already been up in here. Okay,
Mhm.
like, like I want to say
Yeah.
it was Fred Hampton. He had already been up in here. They'd already been talking with Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong has a statement from 1965 advocating for the equality of Black Americans. All right,
Hmm.
the
This is
leader
true.
of China did this
Yeah.
in 1965. W.B. Du Bois had been in China before America's first official ambassador came. So like, and I'm not gonna say they had a easy experience, but what I will say is that we have a history of trying things, getting out of the country. You know, like it's there. You know, I think we need to keep doing that. We need to keep moving, keep trying. You know,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
guess yeah.
All of this is true. I know this to be true. I've studied this shit already. So yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. But I'm glad you mentioned it because it's something worth knowing. Because like average Chinese person don't even fucking know. To be honest, like because they don't
Yeah,
study. Like I work at a high school. I work at a couple high schools, and like they don't even study anything near this shit. They only study like Chinese Japanese wars and like um and then like they move into like modern day China, and they
yeah.
mosey over they mosey over anything controversial, anything that's controversial, they mosey over that shit, dude. Just like or they don't
Yeah.
even touch it. But yeah, this is that's a good point you just made. Thanks for that.
Um, I mean, I'm privileged to say I've been to France, Spain, Japan, Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore. Like, I've seen some stuff, and anywhere I go in the world is gonna be hard. You know, like I was with my bros in Kyoto, Japan, and like some little kids making monkey sounds at us, and like it's gonna take all your energy to not kill them. You know, like it's gonna be hard, but I think we have to go. You know, we have an obligation to see the world and to understand what it really is. Um, and that's what I'm trying to do in China. You know, and like despite all the little things that happen, like I think because of our like Black American heritage and like as messy as that is, like we should feel a little more freedom in seeing the rest of the world. You know, and it has a lot. I think there's a lot to offer. You know, like hip hop. Oh my god! In every country I've gone to, hip hop is the thing. Like little Korean kids like rapping the 21 Savage, and I'm like, what is going on? Right? Our cultural impact, our social impact is insane. And why aren't we making money on this? Why aren't more of us out here like capitalizing on their love for our culture? You know, like I always encourage my people to get out and to see the world and to make their own hustles because I think there's a lot of opportunity, a lot to be reaped.
Mhm.
So that's I guess that's gonna be my last word. The world is our oyster, and I think we need to try our hardest to grab it. I've met some extremely impressive people from Africa, people from Black America out here that are doing all types of stuff, and they're riding for them, China is home. You know, they're going to ride the development of China, and they're going to be doing very well. So it could be China for somebody. It could be Brazil. It could be South Africa. There are a lot of countries that are really exploding right now, and you're doing yourself a disservice, I think, if you limit your opportunities to a particular country. And that's how I feel. I'm gonna end on that.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna end on some encouraging, leave America stuff, and come back eventually, but get out.
This that's not you're not the first person to say it. I'll tell you that on my show. I've said this shit a couple of times. Just also, man, just do a little plug for. I actually have people in Shenzhen who listen. Just plug in like where the club is, so if they don't know you, they can probably come through.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, y'all can I'll send you my Insta. Y'all can reach out to me on Instagram. The club is gonna be in Futian, Miao, Shimudi. It's called Lazy. So it's an all-white party on November 28th. And we're gonna make it poppin'. It should be really fun. I got high expectations. You know, I'm trying to bring in one of my friends now who's like very connected in the Chinese scene. So like we're probably cutting in on some of the profits to like help us push the ads out to a bigger audience. So the hustle's on, man. But the DJ sets we got lined up, this live hip hop artist, his name is Black Beethoven. He's a cool dude. We got some good stuff lined up. So come through. Yeah. Come through.
And
Yeah.
yeah, right there. So remember, guys, I'm EC. This is my man Josh, and that's the Black Book Podcast.
I'm just on a mission. I'm trying to live my dream.